All right, teammates. We are back once again. If this is your first time listening to the Move Swiftly podcast, welcome to the number one show on innovative teamwork. Great to have you. Looking forward to having you back for more. To my regular listeners, you hit the play button so you know how we get down here. You know how we roll. Whatever challenges you may be going through, whatever obstacles may be in your way, whatever you feel like is blocking you from where it is you want to be, we are here to indirectly tell you you are not going through it alone. And today, again, we are is what we do. You guys already know what we do. I have Miss Alessia Citro, who, as I was listening to her, and just so you know, I actually last year, we're recording this 2024, but last year I spent an entire year sober. I, like you, grew up in a household where I had two parents that were going to support me regardless of whatever it is I did. And you left a corporate career and you did the ultimate, and you actually bet on yourself. And a lot of the things that you've actually gone through, I think it's going to be really, really valuable, not only to me, but also to everyone that's listening in. So all that being said, Alessia, excuse me, welcome to the show. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me. I love your energy and how you open the show. I'm like taking notes for my show.
This
I
is
love
what
it.
we do, girl. This is what we do. I've been doing this for a while now. And, I'm going to give you the microphone for a second because I may have stepped on speaking on your background a little bit, because I am really, really excited to hear from you and hear all the work that you're doing. I mean, as I was tuning in, actually, one of my favorite authors, Mel Robbins, The 5 Second Rule, because you dive so deep into habits and how those habits lead to so many results. So, why don't you just kind of introduce yourself a little bit more, talk a little bit about your background, and then we'll kind of get into your corporate career and what made you jump and all that kind of stuff. So, the microphone is yours.
All right. Well, boy, who am I? I think the Cliff's Note version, which we'll get into more of the specifics here in a minute, but I had reached the pinnacle of my career, or so I thought,
Mm-hmm.
in big tech. And then 2020 happened and I got right sized. And after hitting my head against the wall for like 2 years as a new entrepreneur, I finally had the aha moment that, ooh, personal development is no longer optional. It is required if I am going to be a business owner, if I'm going to do this on my own, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so habits was the theme that immediately emerged. It's like all these little things that you've been avoiding because you're a go big or go home,
Yeah.
all or nothing kind of gal.
Oh.
That's the key is this insignificant small stuff is going to change your life. So I became a student of habits and now here we are.
So as you look back on it now, because now you are a parent, and I know that you're young people. One of the stories that really touched my heart actually is when you were talking about how when you gave up wine, instead of your daughter asking you where's the wine, she wants to write her own book and all that kind of stuff. As you look back on it now and you think about the way you actually grew up with the two supportive parents that wanted you to go down that corporate route, wanted you to kind of get that regular 9 to 5 and stuff like that. What sort of what sort of thoughts do you have on that when you look back at your kind of your younger self and say, man, I wonder if I would have did this. I wonder how things would have worked out, kind of speaking on it because, and before you answer, you made a point to mention personal development. And I 1000% agree with you. It is absolutely required. If it wasn't required before 2020, it damn sure was after because it was a crazy time. So kind of speak to that a little bit and, we'll tailor it from there.
You know, I, so like you said, my parents, they love me and support me no matter what.
Mhm.
And growing up, I very much felt the pressure, particularly from my dad. I think
Yeah.
my mom would like cheer me on no matter what I did.
Yeah.
But my dad, I think that he lived vicariously through me. So
Yeah.
he immigrated from Italy to the States when he was 14,
Okay.
didn't get the opportunity to go to college because he was hustling, working, sending money back home.
Yeah.
I was his realization of the American dream. So at the time, I was the only one in my entire family who went to college. Shout out to my little brother who went back, got his degree when he was older, which I think
Shout
is
out, little
even
bro.
harder.
Shout out, little bro.
Yeah.
Good for
Shout
you,
out to
man.
John Luca. He's the best. We have very Italian names, as you can't tell.
Yeah.
So I think that living vicariously, like my dad through me,
Hmm.
it set me on a path to do things that maybe weren't authentic to me.
Wow.
Like I am such a free spirit, love spontaneity, love being in charge, don't like rules, don't like being told what to do. Not exactly a recipe for a great employee. I was a great employee
Yeah.
until I wasn't, but I
Hmm.
think that that was actually what led me into alcohol use disorder and a lot of these like escapism things because
Yeah.
I wasn't living authentically to me.
Yes, I
And
understand.
now, even though I'm an entrepreneur who is like very much still in launch mode, getting off the ground,
Hmm.
I went from the pinnacle of my career making like more than $250,000 a year
Hmm.
to now like doing my cash flow projections. Like, okay, I probably need to make this launch happen soon.
Right.
Like life is real now, but I am so much happier and so much more fulfilled because I'm doing what's true to me.
Amazing. And just so we're clear now, the companies that you previously worked for, they include Salesforce, Google, a lot of companies that a lot of people a lot of people know about, very popular companies. What were the days like? Walk us through the day to day where you really felt like, I get that I'm at this great company. I get that my dad is proud. Everyone's seeing the exterior side of me, but on the interior, things have to be burning. Things have to be like, there's something more. Alessia, I could do more. Walk us through some of the day to day.
Back when and my first tech job, house.com, back then this is actually kind of embarrassing to admit, but I'll just paint the picture for you. I had to make 100 calls a day. I was an inside sales rep. I had this is so funny to tell now, but I had like a little bowl of like beans. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know what they were, but like I would use the beans as counters for my calls to make sure I hit the requirement every single day. So
Yes.
like, imagine your typical inside sales rep like pounding the phone, right? So
Yeah.
that was me. Then I go to Salesforce. It's different, a lot more consultative, which was great. But and still though, like grinding. And then I would like hit it so hard to blow my quota out. Multiple President's Club winner, like did great there, but
Mm-hmm.
I would blow my quota out, go real hard, and then sit back, take it easy for a little bit. And then I'd be like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I got to go real hard again,
Mm-hmm.
blow my quote out, sit back. So it was boom, bust, up, down, up, down.
Mm-hmm.
And that continued into Google, where then everything imploded because I started there on March 2nd of 2020. I was like the last in-person onboarding class for like 2 years or something. Don't quote
Right.
me on that, but you get the picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the only one on my team that had a child and that was married. So
Mm-hmm.
all my colleagues, all my teammates, they're just like pouring themselves into work, right?
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, I could only work 3 hours a day while my daughter napped. And I
Yeah.
was very honest about that. My boss knew that that was going on, but I began to drown and slip. And
Mm-hmm.
because my identity was attached to all this external stuff, being a quota crusher, being really
Mm-hmm.
successful, once that went away, I had an existential crisis
Mm-hmm.
and eventually left. I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So I think the curtain got pulled back for me much sooner than it would have. I think I probably would have eventually come to this realization.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I like to beat to my own drum, and that's hard to do when you're working for other people.
So educate us a little bit, because when you mentioned making 100 calls a day, I hear it and I think that's a good habit, because you're on the phone with people and you're at least, it's like a force multiplier. You're developing those soft skills, those people skills that we all need. However, do you look at it saying, hey, because I'm in tech, or was it a situation because you're in tech where you're not developed, where you just read it from a script and you're calling these people and it's like over and over? Because that I can see being very tedious, versus the latter where you're at least calling people and at least you're developing the skills to get them to do something over the phone. How was that process?
Yeah, that's a good differentiator. I think it really depends on what you're selling. The
Mm-hmm.
first product, it was like very much rinse, repeat, very repetitive. And I love variety, which is why I needed to write a book
Yeah,
on
that's what
habits,
I'm
because
saying.
it's like for the person who hates monotony and hates repetition. I wrote the book for you.
Yes.
Whereas, like, if you're in a more consultative, more creative type of sale where you
Uh,
have multiple products in your bag, that's a little more exciting, but nevertheless,
yeah,
it's still a grind. I mean,
exactly.
everything is a grind, but you got to choose the one that's the best fit for you, you know?
Yeah, it gets really monotonous. All right, so one thing too, one of the things that you actually mentioned is that you actually had a wine business as well that was pulling in, I believe what you said, seven figures, if I'm not mistaken. And
Yep.
so you're doing this. You go to the airport. I can't remember where you said. Was it L.A.? L.A. that you and your husband went to?
I know we were in Maui. We were flying back.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Hawaii. You're flying back from Maui, and you tell your husband, "Hey, I'm leaving my job." And walk us through. I just want you to kind of talk about that moment, because I'm looking at it now from the perspective of the man's perspective. He must have been like, "Oh, okay." So how did
My
that
poor
message?
husband.
Yeah, that's what
Oh,
I,
yeah.
as I
Okay.
was listening
So
to it, I was more so on his. Like, man, if that happens to me, that's like, man, okay, well, let's get it, girl.
yeah, he wasn't thrilled, but he has been and continues to be the
Yes,
most supportive
support,
partner in
right?
every way a partner can be supportive. So let
Right.
me rewind. So
Yeah.
Probably like 6 months or so before I started at Google. I
Mm-hmm.
started a wine company, an online wine company. And that, as you can imagine, exploded during COVID.
Mm,
And the other thing that happened during, because everyone's at home, they just want to drink, right? So the other thing that happened during COVID, I'm stuck at home. I was living in California at the time. We were
mm,
on lockdown for like a year, however long it was.
yeah.
So what starts is this like kind of innocuous habit of like, well, let me just like have a glass of wine to unwind at the end of the day. It continues to progress and progress and progress. And before you know it, it's not unusual for me to be polishing off an entire bottle of wine every night,
Mm,
like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, sometimes more. On the weekends, it might be two bottles, right?
mm,
And so I had the awareness of like, okay, like this is not aligned. I am not even remotely becoming the best version of me, my higher self, which is what I wrote the entire book, Higher Self Habits, about.
mm-hmm.
So I decided one day I was done, dabbled with moderation a little bit. Many months later, realized that, oh, yeah, I can't moderate anything. And now I'm completely alcohol free.
Mm,
But that was a big turning point. But backing up to the whole Maui thing, right?
mm-hmm.
So my husband and I, we've got a rental property, a vacation rental in Maui. And
Mm-hmm.
right after it closed, we went out there to furnish it, get the whole place set up. And
Mm-hmm.
all of these things are happening to us while we're there that are just wow, like the stars are aligning here. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know if anyone listening is familiar with the fact that, like, on an island, it's really hard to get furniture,
Mm,
appliances, some decor. We end up needing a new refrigerator, stove, dishwasher, the whole shebang. We
mm,
go to Home Depot, the exact ones we want. They're like, oh, yeah, we have those in stock. We could deliver them to you this week because a special order just canceled. We're
mm,
like, wow, that's lucky.
mm-hmm.
And we
So the
go, we
stars
need
were
to
like
get
aligned
a
with
bed.
little things. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we need to get a bed because the one I ordered on Wayfair looked like doll furniture. I ended up having to sell it on Facebook Marketplace. And I'm like, what are we going to do? We have to have a bed. Go
Right.
to a furniture store. The only bed in the entire place that I liked that fit the vibe, they're like, oh, yeah, we have it in stock. Special order just canceled. Maybe it was the same people. I don't know. So
Mm,
all these things keep aligning, right? We're at the pool one day.
mm-hmm.
These people anonymously send us a bottle of champagne. I was still drinking at the time, so that was fine. And they tell the server, they're like, tell them that we just love their energy and just to keep being who you're being. Like things like that just keep happening, right?
Oh my
So it's
gosh.
time to
You're
go
like,
home.
I mean, I hate to pause you there because I feel like I'm there. And you know, you're having a vacation and things are just working out because if I'm not mistaken, this is a place that you rent out too. So it's not like this is places where you're gonna be making money off this place as well. So it's not like you're just blowing all the money and then things are just working out in your investment. So it's like
Yeah.
things are happening well. That's excellent.
Yeah, it was wild. Oh, and actually, okay, so before we go to the airport,
Mm-hmm.
when I meet this woman on the plane, I was doing a deal at Google that the customer just wasn't loving. I honestly didn't think it was that great of a deal either,
Mm-hmm.
but I had a lot of pressure to make it happen. So I end up having a come to Jesus meeting with this guy, just the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, hey, I don't think you're really feeling this deal. If I'm being honest, I'm not feeling it for you either. If I were you, I wouldn't take it. I think we should just be done. Part
Wow.
ways as friends. And he was like, yep, I agree. So I'm like, okay, I feel really good, right? So we go to the airport, we get upgraded to first class at the last minute. I told you, great things keep happening to us. And I end up getting sat next to this woman, Jody, who's still a dear friend to this day.
Uh-huh.
And she tells me shortly after takeoff, I knew when you walked down the aisle that we were meant to sit together. And then I needed to tell you something. I'm like, okay, what do you need to tell me? I'm a very, very open person. She knew she was in good company.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, essentially, you have everything you need right now. And what you're doing is not what you're meant to be doing. And you just need to go for it. And I was like, okay, that's a sign I'm going to quit my job. So
All right.
we get off the plane in LA and I'm like, hey, honey, I'm giving notice tomorrow. He was like, what? Like, what?
Off a plane ride.
Yeah, but I did. And I'm very glad for it.
So I want to make sure I make a re-emphasize a point that you just made because this lady that you met, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, she didn't know you before. There wasn't
Nope.
any crime. This was all simple communication, and you know if I'm hearing you correctly, you were wearing your job probably on your like you probably had it on your face. You probably had the whole Google thing. I mean, the amount of responsibility that you were thinking of, plus the kids, plus the marriage, everything. This is somebody that probably sees your just sort of your whole countenance, your whole way, and say you can do better than that. You're better than that, and that ultimately led you to that decision. So whenever, and I'm re-emphasizing that for a point because whenever you're out there and you see somebody that might just need a word, might just need some encouragement, whatever it is, it can be total strangers. And nowadays with these technological devices, with social media, we run from that too much. We don't have enough interaction where it's just face to face to say, hey, how's your day going? How things going? Everything is text and trying to keep up with all this stuff. So, I do want to, well, I'll let you respond to that if you'd like.
Oh no, I think you're spot on. It's when you get the intuitive hit that someone needs to hear from you
Mm-hmm.
or a specific thing they need to hear, reach out to them.
Yeah.
If it's someone you don't know and you run into them and you want to pay them a compliment, pay them the compliment. It might be the exact thing they need to hear. You might be providing a sign or confirmation or validation that they've been looking for.
Mm-hmm. All right, and the reason I brought that up is because I'm looking at the book right behind you. It says higher self habits, and as you have expressed in previous episodes that I was listening to, writing the book was a challenging thing for you because you yourself are a reader, and again, you have that corporate mentality where you're kind of comparing yourself and you're making it so like, okay, is this going to be as good and stuff like that? So walk us through the entire book writing process because having the intellectual property, one of the things that made me write a book was the fact that a lot of people were hearing me speak and I was very motivating and all that kind of stuff. But having intellectual property, in my opinion, is still the most powerful thing you can have because you have power, you have property over your intellect, and nobody can take that away from you. So, walk us through that process. Or your
Well, the
process.
process was interesting. From start to finish, it was about 8.5 months. It could have been faster if I hadn't had the imposter syndrome and the head trash popping up to say hello on the regular.
Yeah.
But I have become a different person on the other side of this book
Mm,
being written and coming out. And, the reason for that is I know that people listening, someone needs to hear this. Whatever it is you want to do, you're like, who am I to do that? I'm like, who am I to write a book on habits?
mm,
It wasn't that long ago. I struggled to wash my face every night.
mm,
Seriously, like this is basic stuff. Who am
mm,
I to write a book on habits? I have a business degree. I don't
mm,
know behavioral science. I don't have a degree in that. I don't have a certification in that. Who am I to do it? Well, I got my own transformation through this. The method that I describe in the book is what I accidentally created to stop drinking and turn my entire life around in a myriad of ways.
mm,
I've helped other people get a transformation. Who am I not to write it? Maybe I am exactly the person to write it because I am so deeply flawed and struggle with this so very much
mm,
that people need to hear from me, not the person that like habits come easy to, that
mm.
seems like the qualified one to write it.
Right.
So whatever you're qualifying yourself out from, that might be the exact thing that qualifies you uniquely to do it and bring it forth.
So speak on the methods that you're able to incorporate when you're talking about habits, because again, like you, one of the things that caught me for the past 3 years, I've gone on a cruise for my birthday, and I was in the Bahamas 2 cruises ago, and I mean just Bahama mama after Bahama mama after drink, and I'm using the excuse that it's my birthday, and nothing really changed when you sober up. Like when when you drink to the point where you sober, like you're drunk yourself sober on a cruise, and I said, I don't want to do this. It is no point to it. I got drunk, yeah, and then what? The sun came up. Nothing really actually changed for the better in my life. So it was at that point where I spent the entire year sober. So walk us through, and that just happened again a lot like the lady when it comes to the airport that you met at the airport. But the method for me is I'm a runner, so instead of buying alcohol, I was now spending that money on 5Ks. I was spending that money on 10Ks, winning my age group, all those sorts of things. So speak a little bit about when you talk about the method that you use to create these habits, to create these positive habits. What sort of examples can you give?
So the method in the book, the higher self habits method, I accidentally created this.
Yes, ma'am.
So the first step, sorry, what was that?
That's the best way. That's the best way
Right.
to be
Yeah. It
authentic.
like it
Yeah.
just dropped in and I look back, I was like, oh, okay, I see how that happened now. I can connect the dots looking back, right?
1,000.
So the first step in solving anything, I don't care what it is awareness. If
Yeah.
you're not aware that you have a problem and what the problem is, or what the block is, the obstacle, you can't do anything. So the
Mm,
first step is awareness. And I have to tell you, the first like 2/3 of this book almost read like coffee with a friend that's hyping you up and reminding you that like you've got what it takes
yeah.
because it's debunking all the crap we tell ourselves
Mhm.
and why we do it and all that. So that's the first part.
Mm,
Then alignment. What is your chosen identity? Who do you know you were created to be? If you, and actually, okay, so the thing that made me stop drinking my grandparents, I was asked to write and deliver the eulogy for their joint memorial service.
Oh
And
God.
both of them lived to be 97 and a half years old,
Wow.
195 years of life combined, and
Wow.
like objectively amazing people. There
Hmm.
was not a single person that would speak ill of them or say that they were not nice. They were like stand up people that you would aspire to be like. Okay. So I'm writing the eulogy, and it becomes very clear that
Mm,
if I were to kick it tomorrow and people were being honest,
mm.
my eulogy wouldn't read this way.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, okay,
Wow.
I need to make some shifts. I don't think that grandma would be drinking a bottle of wine every night.
Wow.
And she definitely never did that ever.
Oh
And I
man.
don't think that she would be grinding and burning herself out and putting so much prominence on success and making money and all this shit that ultimately really doesn't matter.
Hmm.
So that was the wake up call. So, and I have the reader do this in the book. If you imagine at the end of a really long, fulfilling, impactful life, what your eulogy would sound like, are you on track for that to be true right now? And if you're not, course correct. So that's alignment. There's more to it than that, but you get the picture.
I mean,
Then
I'm still
audit.
getting goosebumps with that. I I tell people all the time, look, I've attended more funerals than weddings, and but however, I've never actually had to be the person to write the eulogy. So I'm looking at you now, and I'm thinking of where you were mentally and everything that you lived through. Just the writing of that, a 96-year-old woman, and now you're having this self-reflection and saying, "Oh shit, what the hell is going to happen to me if God forbid something happens?" And then boom, I got kids to think about, I got a spouse to think about. And that is, I mean, that's a very powerful opening. So again, I appreciate your courage for sharing that.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm an open book. I don't believe in TMI or oversharing. So you could
Right.
ask me anything else you want.
Yes.
Another thing I'll add really quickly on the note of the eulogy, I actually said this in the
Mhm.
eulogy. The most probable reason someone would not come to your funeral
Mm.
is if it is raining that day.
Hmm.
They would rather not go out in the rain than go to your funeral. That's the number one reason they won't go.
Wow.
So knowing that,
Hmm.
and also thinking about Bronnie Ware's Five Regrets of the Dying. She was a palliative care nurse and was
Hmm.
literally at the bedside of thousands of people when they passed away, and they
Hmm.
all had these five regrets.
Right.
One of them is, I wish I had lived the life I wanted, not the one that was expected of me.
Yeah.
So live for you.
Yeah.
So then the third stage in this process is audit, looking at everything that you do, what needs to stay, what needs to go, what do you need to start. And I actually look at this through the lens of Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Hmm.
Typically, when we're like, ooh, I want to level up, what do? We start with the stuff at the top.
Yeah.
For example, I want to be a best selling author. I think I'm going to go do that. Okay, great. And what about your basic habits? Are
Right.
you eating regularly throughout the day? Or are you skipping meals and getting hangry and your brain is like not working right?
Exactly.
Are you hydrated? Are you
Right.
sleeping enough?
Right.
Are you getting sunlight or are you like deficient in vitamin D? Are you moving your body or not?
Mhm.
You got to get the basics down before you could do the sexy stuff later.
Yes.
So take readers through that. Then activate.
Hmm.
Every single behavior has four components, and people always are like, oh, I could make this habit stick. Something's wrong with me. Why can't I just get myself to do it? It's not a you thing, it's a behavior design flaw.
Hmm.
So I show people how there are four components to every behavior. ACTS, ACTS is the acronym. Ambition, you want to do it. Capability, you can do it.
Hmm.
Trigger, the prompt or the cue. Satisfaction, the reward. Everything we get rewarded for, by the way, even if it's
Yes.
avoiding pain or
Yes.
discomfort.
Yes.
And then I show people how to do that.
Hmm.
And then finally, ascend and amplify. You ascend to a new level. You start radiating out this energy, right?
Hmm.
Showing other people that they can do it too. And then it starts over again. It's your upward spiral. You
Right.
unlock new levels of awareness, new things to align to, new things you got to audit,
Right.
new things to activate, and on and on and on it goes.
Matt, so when you think about the work that you're doing with the book, what do you see as the kind of the ideal client for you, the ideal person for you to work with? Is it someone that was, specifically that's struggling with their job or alcohol or whatever it is? Kind of describe that ideal person just in case they're listening.
This can benefit anyone,
Hmm.
but I wrote it for the woman who is just grinding, going through the motions. Shit, The people I work with, they always tell me this. I can't get out of my own way. I wish I could get out of my own way, or I'm sick of my own. Can I swear?
Oh yeah, please do. Yes.
I'm sick of my own shit.
Yeah.
They always say some variation of that. So if
Hmm.
you're a woman who likes to say that, let's talk. High
Hmm.
achievers too. People who are like type A plus, they're used to, always excelling, and they usually aren't showing up for themselves. That's who I love, love, love to help. And you can tell by looking at the book. You probably can't see this if you're listening to it, obviously, but like it's a pink, purpley cover. I wrote it for the girls, but
Yeah.
like men and anyone can benefit from it.
Yes, I've read books that have pink covers, and I'm a man. Actually, it was a book you probably read. Minka Kelly wrote a book. Jeez, I can't remember the title of it, but Minka Kelly is like this famous actress. She was the cheerleader on Friday Night Lights, and I was a big fan of the show. So I read her book, and it's crazy to see it, to listen to. I actually listened to it on Audible, but listen to how many things she actually went through, even though she's kind of the pretty face. You would never know that sometimes, especially if you're talking about women, the prettiest girls on the exterior go through a lot of shit, like mean, nasty things on the interior as you grow up and you
Yeah.
realize, hey, your looks is only going to get you so far. So
Oh God, isn't that the truth?
that is very much the truth. So, I do want to be very respectful of your time. Can you just talk a little bit about what do you envision your business to be like in the next 10, 15 years? What's next? How do you see this whole thing playing out?
The movement that I hope to, oh, I think I've already started it. I see it really taking root in the people that I'm connecting with. So I just see it expanding. And it is that you can't just have the strategy, right? I mean, that you got to have that, but like you also need to have the meaning of this, like on a deep soul level. Why are you here? What are you here for? Why
Mm-hmm.
does any of this shit matter to you? And yeah, I know I'm the higher self habits girl, but I still like to swear a little bit, right? Because I don't take myself too seriously,
Right.
and neither does my higher self. But like that, I think is the key that I want to leave the world with. Of it doesn't need to look rigid, constricting, boring. It can be freeing. It can be fun. It can have variety. You don't have to do the same thing every day. I'm like the anti morning routine girl now.
Mm-hmm.
Turn your morning routine into a menu, maybe a buffet.
Right.
Have what you want to have.
Right.
Don't feel like you have to do it all or you failed.
Right.
Just letting people have more fun with it and to get more curious. So in
Yeah.
10 to 15 years, I see this being a hopefully worldwide
Mm.
movement where people are relaxing a little bit,
Yeah.
becoming their higher selves and not getting so burned out in the process.
And what's the best way for people to get in touch with you? Where do you normally send them?
I am very active on the gram, so come find me over there. Alessia Citro, Alessia and two underscores, because there are other Alessia Citros, which shocked me, but
There
nevertheless,
are. Mhm.
yeah,
I
a lot of them
I
actually. I'm
found you.
like, huh, that's weird.
I guess I was like just click the link, but I didn't see any other ones.
They're probably in Italy, most of them. But yeah, I'm probably the only one stateside. So you can find me there. Also, go to my website. It's alessiacitro.com. And if you go to alessiacitro.com/book, you can grab the book there or on Amazon. And then I also have a gift for you. If you are really wanting to tap into like, who is my higher self? I have a guided visualization to help you with that. And I also have a capability guide that will help you break down your behavior and make it easier to do. And you can get both of those at alessiacitro.com/gift.
Sounds good. And all of that will be included in the show notes as well. So, Alessia, the final thing I do to close out all the shows is I want you to use your imagination a little bit. You are, I guess, what, 2019 version of yourself. You just finished your second bottle of wine. That version of you, you got to go to work. You got to figure out how to get out of this drunken place and get yourself to work to make a bunch of calls. You're that person. Pretend that version of you has come into the Zoom room. Give her some words of encouragement, and we will officially close.
I would tell her I'm so grateful for her because if I had not gone into those extremes, I would not have been able to come out the other side and be who I am now.
Mm,
And I would just tell her, like, walk towards the light, walk away from the shadows, away from the dark, walk towards the light, who you know you're meant to be. And
mm.
don't worry so much. It's all going to work out.
That's great. That's beautiful. And it kind of goes back into your whole messaging in terms of just do it. Like, you don't have to be so serious. All of us make mistakes. Shit is gonna happen. Just walk into the things that you know are the right things to do. And all of you listening to me, everybody knows what the right thing to do is. I don't want to hear the excuse if you don't know. Those excuses are long and gone. You know exactly what the right thing to do is. Just simply do it every single day. That's all you have to do. All right. All that being
Amen.
said, fellow teammates, continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.